I've had quite a few of these bikes over the years, and mainly in the classic 500s, but I've got to say one thing from the start. I just got to welcome back an old friend. What a beauty. Now we've got that out of the way. Just like to tell you how hard it's been to get this bike. Going back in early December, I spoke to a couple of dealers here on the east coast of Australia about ordering one of these, and one of them had a waiting list of 5 of them in stock, or 5 of them on order. And I thought that'd be a bit of a hard push, and then I spoke to another guy and he said, oh yeah, he could get me one in January. So I ended up placing an order with him. January came, rang him up about that one. There was no luck there. He said, oh, I think it'll be more like the end of January, so that was alright. Rang back in the end of January and told me it was just about one ready to come in. Rang him back a few days after that, and then he told me again that could be a little bit of a delay again. It could be another 5 or 6 weeks before one arrived. So I thought I didn't go much on that idea, and I thought I'm just being fooled around by this fella, so we'll forget about that. But meanwhile, back in December, around about that same time, I'd already spoke to this guy over in Perth, Western Australia, who had this particular bike in stock. Now at that stage he wanted $9,000 for this bike, and I thought, oh well, by the time it's freighted and all that, it'll get a bit expensive to get it here, and it'll work out a little bit dearer than what I wanted to pay for it. So fast forward to the end of February, and the bike's still sitting over there, and I was just looking on bike sales, and this bike came up again with a $1,000 reduction on it. So I decided to get in contact with them over there, and they told me it'd come up on, naturally I'd seen it on bike sales, and cut a long story short, the price was sitting at $8,000, and they'd even had these saddlebags and that on the bike, which they said when it was advertised were not supposed to be included on the bike, because they were a $600 option for the saddlebags and the framework. But because they were advertised with the bike on it, they would throw those in on it too. So in the end I said to them, well, how about we do a deal, and I'll give you $8,000 for the bike cash, and you freight it to me over here to the other side of Australia, 4,000 kilometres. And with a little bit of humming and hawing, they worked something out and got back to me next day and said, okay, we'll do the deal. And that's how I got the bike. So I was pretty happy with that deal. And the fact is, I know B5s or Bullet 500s, these are the Bullet 500s, you can see, are in high demand. Hard to get on this side of the country. Over on the east side, he might have had a bit of trouble moving it over there in Western Australia, but on our side of the country, really hard to get, like impossible. So I thought, why not grab one of these, because they're nice looking bikes, and I've had quite a few of these Enfields, and I thought I might as well see it out with one more. I'm back now, and I've stripped all the hardware off the bike. In other words, I've got rid of the saddlebags off it and brought it back to the bear. Oh, there goes the dog. The Bear Essentials. And while I'm at it, if you're interested in subscribing to the channel, please do, because I hope to knock out about 20 or 30 clips on this bike, and I think they should be fairly interesting, because I've had a lot of these bikes and know a bit about them, and may help somebody further down the track. So just a few specs on these bikes. They come in at around about, I think, roughly 195 kilos. Got a 13.5 litre fuel tank, put out about 27 horsepower. Tell you what, this green's not a bad colour, and in this sort of light conditions it almost looks black. I'll just do a bit of a slow pan around it. We can have a bit better look at it. I think it looks a lot cleaner without the saddlebags on it too, because I wouldn't say they're the best looking bag system I've seen on a bike, so not ones I'd go out and buy. But this forest green, when you see the metallic colour running down the forks there and over it, really nice. What about that hand painted pinstripe around the tank? And over the top. It's a pretty good freehand job. So back to where we were, like I said, 27 horsepower, seat height of about 30 inches. These are a bike where require a pretty easy running period, say roughly 500 to 1,000 mile, take it easy, or 1,600 kilometres. Don't get into it till at least you've done 3,000 kilometres. So it's, you know, it's a fairly slow process. Following the book, it's a really slow process for that first 500 kilometres or 300 mile. The only pleasures of electronics, you could say, with this particular bike would be ABS, and this is dual channel on this particular bike, and naturally it's got fuel injected, and apart from fuel injection it's got electric start, and with our purist type riders like myself, it's even got a Kickstarter. So that's something there of, you know, if you want to go back to the days of yesteryear, not many new bikes you can pick up now with a Kickstarter on them. So while we're at it, we'll talk about the motor. It's a 500cc unit construction, so that means the oil in this particular motor keeps everything under control in the engine, the gearbox and the clutch, so it splashes around in everything at once. And seeing this is the latest model in the range of these motors, it's got actually 3 drain plugs underneath to drain the oil out, so we've got one just here. We got the main sump plug there. We've got the filter screen just there. On the gearbox side, that's the normal pattern, 5-speed box, 1 down, 4 up. Some of the Indian bikes had twin plugs, but we've only just got the single plug here, and that's enough for one of these. It's got an air injection system in it to make it sort of run a bit cleaner, pollution side, but I don't think it helps that much at all. This is a little bit of a nostalgia thing with the B5s. You'll notice on the side tanks here, it has got bullet 500. Now if this was a classic 500 or a C5, it'd have a classic 500 on that side tank. But on these bullets, or B5s, they've got bullet 500. Now another interesting point which I noted on this particular bike, I had one of these bikes back in 2013. It was almost identical, apart from back in 2013 these particular bikes ran here in Australia 19-inch front wheel, 19-inch back, and they ran on I think they were Seat tyres then, but I'll just check this one out, and here we got a 19-inch front, and we swing to the back on this particular bike, and we got an 18-inch rear, so that's the exact combination what's on a C5. And the other thing about it is it's also running the Avon tyres, the exact tyres what come on the C5 in Australia too. So we've got the Avon Road Rider, tyres. These have been really good tyres too. I've never had any problem with those tyres over the times I've had it, and I think the reason maybe why they've went from 19 at the front, 18 at the back, could be because of the ABS system and the rear disc brake on these. But the strange thing about this, if you go to the Aussie Royal Enfield website, they still list this bike as a 19-inch front, 19-inch rear wheel. So even the distributors here don't even know what wheels are on the bike. So that's a bit of an odd one, but that's the way things go. Now another thing on a B5, if you compared it to a C5, notice the rear mudguard. See how it's sort of arched? On a C5 it's nicely curved, but these are sort of more boxy type rear mudguards on these bikes, real old school. Very old fashioned rear mudguard on these. So one good tip guys with these Euro 4 models, don't overfill them when you're bringing the fuel up. Don't bring it up any higher than the lip here, lower lip there with the fuel. Then when you put your gas cap on, just screw it down till it does that first click, and leave it at that. Now while we're at it, I suppose you might like to have a look inside the side cases on them, so just have a look here. These are pretty neat now compared to how they used to be. You've got your Royal Enfield toolkit. There's not much in those anyway, but the box itself with the ECU and fuses, they're all nice and neat compared to how they used to be once. That's a nice neat setup there on the left. Naturally on this side here, this is your battery box, which is locking, so you can just unlock that one, lift the battery box off. I noticed on this new ABS model that your brake lines coming down, they're braided. That's front and rear. And if we swing around the other side, that's just your air filter in there. Just swing back a bit. So you can just have a look at that one. If you ever want to move that out, just undo that nut there, pull up the cover. Once upon a time they never had that cover on it, and it used to be just a bare air filter. But I think after it was out for 3 or 4 years, they decided to bring this cover on to probably protect it a bit better from what rubbish was coming into the canister there, and then it came out on all of them after that. This one here used to be, the old days, it used to be metal, and it used to be an oval type one on the C5 and in metal, but now I think it's all plastic now on the C5s. And it used to be a carry area for tools and stuff like that. So apart from that, that just about covers all the bike. I think on the next one, or next clip up, I'll just tell you 3 mods I'm going to do to this bike, or 3 improvements I think on this bike before I take it down and put it in for a blue slip. And I always do that to the bikes when I first get them before I bother starting them up and taking them out, because I think it helps. So stay tuned for that one. So I'll put out that clip, and like I said, 3 mods on the bike which I think is essential for that first start up, and off you go, and it works for me and may be interest to you. So once again, thanks for tuning in, taking a look, and I'll catch up with you on the next clip. Cheers for now.